You wake up, and the first thing you feel is that weight, that feeling that something is not right, that there are things to do and you already know you won't do them. You look at yourself in the mirror, and the person you see there is not who you promised you would be last night. And the worst part is that this no longer surprises you. It's normal now. You've gotten used to disappointing yourself. There is something deeply disturbing about realizing that you can't even trust your own determination. That voice that last night told you that today would be different has turned into a very different one. One that whispers, "What's the point of trying? It always ends the same anyway. Better to stay still where it doesn't hurt so much." But let me tell you something that will probably completely change the way you understand what's happening to you. All that chaos you feel, all that inability to stay firm in your decisions, has nothing to do with your willpower. Absolutely nothing. There was a 16th century philosopher named Michel de Montaigne who seemed to have everything figured out: social position, wealth, power, recognition. And yet, something inside him told him that all that effort to control his life was fundamentally an illusion. Montaigne lost his best friend. Then he lost his father. Later, 4 of his 6 daughters died as infants. He survived a fall from a horse that nearly killed him. And in the middle of all that pain, he discovered something that sounds almost insulting in its simplicity, but contains a devastating psychological truth. He discovered that he suffered more from resisting uncertainty than from uncertainty itself. That his mind was constantly exhausted trying to control things he could never control. That his anxiety did not come from the events themselves, but from his desperate need for those events to be different from what they were. And here is the connection I want you to see with absolute clarity. You are also fighting that same battle. Every time you promise yourself that tomorrow will be different, every time you try to force yourself to be someone you are not yet, every time you punish yourself for not meeting expectations you don't even know where they came from, you are fighting against the reality of who you are right now. And that fight is what is destroying you from the inside. How many times have you tried to change by forcing yourself, pressuring yourself, demanding more and more from yourself? Hundreds, right? Maybe thousands. And how many times has it worked in a lasting way? Probably none. And yet, you keep using the same strategy over and over again. Modern psychology calls this repetition compulsion. It's when your mind insists on solving a problem using exactly the same tool that has already proven not to work. It's like trying to open a door by pushing it harder and harder when what you need is to pull it. Strength is not the problem. Direction is. Montaigne understood something that psychology took 400 years to scientifically confirm. He understood that the key is not adding more control, more discipline, more willpower. The key is letting go of the obsession with control. Imagine for a moment that you could stop fighting yourself, that you could observe your impulses, your moments of weakness, without immediately turning them into evidence of your failure as a person. Imagine that you could look at all of that with curiosity, without judgment, without the need to fix it immediately. This is what Montaigne called the art of knowing how to doubt. His most famous phrase was simply, "What do I know?" 3 words that contain a complete psychological revolution. Because when you truly say, "What do I know?" when you feel it inside, something relaxes. And in that space that opens up, interesting things begin to happen. Your brain has a structural problem that makes this era particularly devastating for your ability to concentrate. It was designed over thousands of years to operate in an environment of scarcity. Scarcity of food, of information, of stimuli. In that context, it developed a brilliant system to motivate you to seek rewards. That system is called the dopaminergic circuit. When you anticipate something pleasurable, your brain releases dopamine. Not when you get it, but when you anticipate it. In the environment it was designed for, this system was perfect. You saw a fruit, your brain released dopamine, and that dopamine gave you the energy to go get it. But now we live in a radically different world. Your brain is constantly being bombarded with signals of potential rewards. Every notification, every scroll, every click triggers that same system. Dopamine, dopamine, dopamine. Non-stop. And when your brain experiences that kind of constant stimulation, something terrible begins to happen. Dopamine receptors start to downregulate. Your brain reduces its sensitivity to dopamine. You need more to feel the same. It's exactly the same mechanism that occurs with any addiction. And suddenly, all those activities that require sustained effort, reading a book, writing a report, studying, simply don't generate enough dopamine to motivate you. Your system is calibrated to seek instant and easy rewards. Anything that requires patience is completely outside your motivational range. Montaigne knew nothing about dopamine, obviously, but he knew that constantly filling your mind with distractions disconnected you from yourself. That's why he withdrew to his tower, to recover his mind, to recover his ability to think without the constant bombardment of other people's certainties. And he wrote something that should be engraved on every phone in the world. He wrote that most human occupations consist of chasing things they do not need. Think about that. How much of what you consume daily on your phone do you really need? How much of it brings you closer to who you want to be? And how much of it is simply noise that your brain chases, because it is designed to chase any signal of reward, no matter how empty it is. You're not opening your phone because you're weak. You're opening it because you have a normal human brain operating in an environment it is not prepared for. An environment designed specifically to hack exactly this system. So what do? Montaigne would say the first step is awareness, to observe the mechanism in action, to feel that impulse to grab the phone, and instead of repressing it violently or automatically giving in, simply notice it. There it is again. My brain wants a quick hit because it feels uncomfortable. When you observe something consciously, when you name it, you automatically create a space. A small space between the impulse and the action, and in that space lives freedom. The freedom to truly choose instead of simply reacting. And here comes something crucial. Your mental state and your physical state are not two separate things. They are aspects of the same integrated system. When your body is in a state of chronic activation, your brain cannot function in its optimal mode. Your prefrontal cortex literally disconnects, and control is taken over by your limbic system, the primitive part that only understands immediate threats and quick rewards. This explains why when you are tired or anxious, all your good intentions evaporate. Your brain has switched operating modes. It has gone from growth mode to survival mode. Montaigne knew this because he paid attention to his own experience. He discovered that when he took care of his body, when he walked, when he rested, his mind became clearer. His thoughts flowed better. His ability to face uncertainty increased. When you move your body regularly, you are modifying your neurochemistry. You are improving your ability to concentrate. You are regulating your stress management system. When you take care of your body, your mind works better. And when your mind works better, you have more capacity to make peace with uncertainty. Now comes perhaps the most important part. Carol Dweck, a psychologist at Stanford, discovered that there are two fundamental types of mindset. The fixed mindset believes abilities are immutable. Either you are intelligent or you are not. The growth mindset understands that abilities develop through effort and time. A child with a fixed mindset who faces a difficult problem says, "I can't do it," and gives up. A child with a growth mindset says, "I can't do it yet," and keeps trying. That word "yet" changes absolutely everything. It transforms failure from a final sentence into a midpoint in the journey. You're not someone who cannot do something. You are someone who cannot do it yet. And Montaigne discovered exactly the same thing 450 years ago. He understood that he himself was an unfinished project, that he would never reach a final point where everything was solved. And instead of seeing that as a failure, he saw it as the very nature of human existence. We are beings in constant transformation, always in process, never finished. And when you truly accept that, something fundamental changes. You stop being so brutal in your self-evaluation. You stop turning every mistake into evidence of your fundamental inadequacy. You begin to see yourself with the same patience you would have for someone learning a musical instrument. All your suffering, all that feeling of being trapped, comes from your resistance to uncertainty. It comes from your need to control things you cannot control. It comes from your refusal to accept that you are fragile, vulnerable, imperfect. If you made it to the end, comment, "I've arrived," and I will personally reply to you. And if this content resonated with you, subscribe to be part of it and give it a like if you enjoyed it.